Rev up your engines!
Well, if you've been following me, you know I'm not a fan of that auto start-stop crap where you come to a stop sign and your engine turns off to save gasoline, and then when you step on the gas, it starts back up and goes. Well, guess what? The National Highway Traffic Safety Association has opened an investigation for 2016 to 2019 Honda pilots because they're finding that they're turning the engines off when you come to a stop sign, but then they're not restarting themselves. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up, right? Now, the Honda owners are complaining themselves. They're saying that they think it's other models, too, that have the Honda Pilot's 3.5-liter V6 and a 9-speed automatic transmission, which is the Odyssey, the Acura TL, and the Acura MDX. I mean, can you imagine? Oh, we're going to save some gasoline. It turns the car off, doesn't start it up again. Well, it saves a whole bunch of gasoline, then it doesn't run at all. The greenest vehicle in the world, one that doesn't run. Now, some of the people said they needed a jump start to start it, and others said that didn't matter if they jumped or not, they still wouldn't restart. Now, this isn't a recall yet, but this is a reason that I tell people, if you've got a problem with your car, definitely report it. Go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association .gov website, and then you can file a complaint about your car. This particular one that they're looking into, over 200 complaints, and now they're looking into it. It might turn into a recall. You got a problem, don't just grumble and say, what can I do? You can go to the website there and you can make a complaint. And if enough people complain, then they do an investigation. If they say, yes, that's a design flaw, it wasn't made right, they'll recall them, they got to fix them for free. So don't be quiet about your problems. National Highway Traffic Safety Association .gov. You don't spell the whole thing. You just put NHTSA.gov and you'll get there and you can complain there. It's one time our government's actually helping us out, you know. Take advantage of it and use it. Blake says, my car never had the gear oil changed, 121,000 miles. Do you think it's safe to change it or leave it alone? That depends what you're talking about. If you really mean gear oil and you have a standard transmission, go ahead and change it. That's just splash lubrication. The oil splashes on the gears and lubricates it. Change it now. Yeah, it's a good thing to keep dirt out. But if you're talking about an automatic transmission, that's iffy because you need to change it more frequently. And if you don't, and you change it now, then the transmission might start slipping because automatic transmission fluid is different than standard. It has a pump inside, pumps the fluid through tiny little holes, shifts the vehicle by pressure differential, where your standard manual transmission, you shift it by hand. So it's a lot simpler. Those you can change whenever you want. But automatics, you got to change them regularly or a lot of times leave them alone. Box Pay says, Scotty, I got a 2015 Camry made in the USA with 80,000 miles. There's a small grinding noise when I start the vehicle, especially might be the VTC actuator. What do you think? Well, sometimes it can. More often, the grinding noise is your starter going out. So to figure that out, watch my video, Finding the Source of Car Noise of Scotty. Devices you put on, put them in different areas. Put one of those sending units, they're magnetic, on the starter. Put another one on the top of the engine. When you start it up, listen to the little machine has choices. So if you have one on the starter and two on the top of the engine, listen to one. If you hear it really loud, but then when you hit it at 2, you don't hear it as loud, hey, it's the starter. More often, grinding noise is the starter. The actuators can go bad, and normally not that fast in a Camry. Usually the grinding will be your starter. And if you pinpoint it like that, it's the starter, just replace the starter. They don't cost much. Johnny Johnson says, I keep hearing about chip shortages from dealers. I think they're full of it. Are they telling the truth? To some extent, yes. To some extent, no. I know car dealerships, right? Their thing is, they want to sell you each car for as much money as possible. I've seen car dealers where you go there today, and there's hardly any cars on the lot. And you go in, oh yeah, we got one of those here. You want to buy it? Here's what it is. And they raise the price of it, right? Because there's only one there. But actually, they have 5 or 6 of them sitting in a lot somewhere else. And then when you pay the high price, they say, okay, we'll get it ready and you can come pick it up. Then they get one of the ones that they have sitting out somewhere else and bring it and sell it to you. So a lot of it is lies to make it look like they're scarcer than they are. Now, there is an actual chip shortage. The car manufacturers brought it upon themselves because unlike old Henry Ford, who built all the parts for his own cars in his own factories, they farm everything out now because it's cheaper. So, well, if they farm their chips out to some company in China and they don't have them now, they can't build their own cars. stupid. It's always short-term capitalism in this country. I knew a guy who was big in the business more than 30 years ago, and he said, our country's screwed up. We go and buy the stuff the cheapest place we can. This was even 30 years ago. So we can sell them cheaper. Instead of building them right, having it all done correctly, we're going to buy the cheapest ones we can. Then when we build them, they have problems and they break and we got to fix them. I mean, a perfect example of the reverse of that is Volkswagen. Now they only make their Golf GTIs, the GTI Volkswagens, in Germany. They stopped making them in Mexico and other places. The quality control is crap. They moved them back to Germany. They realized it, right? Today, most companies are getting stuff from overseas up the wazoo because it's cheaper. They created their own problem, so on them, that's what I say. And of course, the dealers, they'll do anything to try to sell you something at a higher price. So, whether it exists or not, they got cars, but they're just hiding them away so they can raise the price on the ones that they do have. Peter Miller says, Scotty, please answer me one time. 2010 ES350 front-wheel drive, 152K for $8,400. Good deal. What's the worst issue? Well, they're good vehicles, but you do want to have a mechanic like me check it out before you buy it, because I had a guy buy one here in Tennessee, and he didn't get it checked out. Then he brought it to me a couple months later, and I checked it, and I said, it's an oil burner. All the spark plugs are covered with oil. I said, they didn't maintain it. Now you got a junky engine. It's going to cost you more than you paid for the car to replace the engine with a good one. You do want to test it out. And the prices, they've gone bonkers, because, I got a 2002 ES300 Lexus from my wife ages ago for $3,000. And it only had 65,000. Yours is 152 you're looking at. So they're all outrageous these days. It's a good thing they made the old ones good, because I'm not going to be buying a car for a long time unless somebody runs into us and destroys them in a wreck, because they don't make them as good as they did, and they're way too expensive these days. If you do have to get a car, if you can wait now, wait. Prices will come down eventually. They have to. They're too sky high. Wait. Don't buy one unless you have to. You never know. The reason I bought my wife's ES, customer selling, was his father. A heart attack died and he was selling the car. They didn't want it. I wasn't even looking for a car. We had two perfectly good cars. We had a Toyota Matrix and my Toyota Celica. I didn't care. They ran fine. But she gets it. Oh, I love it. So I bought it for her for $3,000. I wasn't even looking. So you're better when you're not looking to find something if it's really a good deal. Because if you are looking now, you're not probably going to find any good deals. If you can wait, wait. David A. said, Scotty, I'm thinking of changing the oil on my 22-ton drive every 3K because of the twin turbos. What do you think? Now, you don't need to change it 3. Change it 5. And use that GF6 oil, the new synthetic oil that's made for them. And that's perfectly fine. 5 is perfectly fine. 3, now back in the day, 3 was real. That's what I used to tell people when I was a young mechanic. Because oil wasn't as good, the engines weren't as good. And we changed them every 3. I changed the oil in all my cars for ages every 3. But when they came out with full synthetic oil, then I bumped it up to 5. Then I changed every 5. So 5 would be perfectly fine. Use the GF6 oil, good oil. Doesn't matter what company makes it, as long as it's GF6, the new standard. 5 is perfectly fine. And I would do it every 5. Cedric McAllister says, Scott, I got a 2014 Z71 with 4.3 Ecotech V6. Every time it goes in the V4, it shudders and vibrates. 3 dealership says it's normal, only 46 miles. What can I do? I would turn that off. I would turn the cylinder deactivation off. There's ways you can pay mechanics like me to hook it up to turn that off. They do that because it's poorly designed. It's a poorly designed system. The idea that, no, we shut some of the cylinders off, and on top of that, you don't like the shuddering. Let me tell you something. If you plan on keeping that thing a long time, you're not going to like the results of the cylinder deactivation. It ruins the engine. People have found out that by deactivating some of the cylinders and running the others, the deactivated cylinders actually wear out faster. Something about heat transfer. It's not all the same temperature anymore because some are firing and some aren't, and that'll screw the whole thing up, which is what it does. Now, it takes many, many thousands of miles to do it, but insidiously, it is doing it, and the engines will wear out faster. Damian Pasorni says, Scotty, what's your thoughts on a Maserati Levante? Okay, for those of you who don't know, a while back, I believe it was 2017, Maserati decided we're going to join the bandwagon and make SUVs. So they made the Maserati Levante. So you have an exotic car company, Maserati, which has always been on the verge of bankruptcy, making SUVs. And guess what? They fell apart. I knew a guy who had one. The engine blew up at 10,600 miles. And of course, electronic problems. Plus, they cost a lot of money. Today, you want to get a 2023? You're going to spend anywhere between like $110,000 to $170,000 for one of those Italian piles of junk. And then you have an SUV that if you read the reviews, they're all generally well below 50% out of 100%. They're just Italian monstrosities. I had a guy down the street from in Houston that bought one. I just laughed because amongst the other things the guy did, one of the things done was he was a money launderer. So he was doing a lot of illegal stuff. What did he care if he wasted money on a Maserati? He got dirty money going all over the place anyway. So it's kind of like it used to be Rolls Royce, but now it's Bentleys. And they got to have Bentleys. Well, they got so much money. What do they care? Bentleys are piles of junk too. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.